Okay, but this private, personal material in a political framework. Both Nixon and the contender develop on the central tension between the public and the private sides of politicians' lives. This fits into a very well-established dramatic mode, which plays with the public's desire for the real story, or behind-the-scenes view of either or both the private lives of important people or the playing out of matters of historical or state importance. It actually wasn't so long ago that this terrain was largely left to the activity of historical biography, which would uncover the formerly personal and private world of the great man or woman, and which usually appeared decades after the person's death. Yet in America in particular, the rough and tumble of politics has often led to the expose and scandal as a means of gaining advantage over opponents. And the tradition of a free press and sensational journalism generates a counterweight to the idea of gravitas in the public sphere. Yet the form of melodrama as a narrative pattern, which Julian Assange discussed yesterday, has always pushed towards the collapse of great events and minor circumstances when the historical moment is combined with family stories. Rather obviously, Oliver Stone examines Nixon, the man, in terms of a deep psychological tension that motivates the private man, the individual, in terms of his public face. Nixon, as portrayed by Anthony Hopkins, is a man constantly tormented, not only by feeling flawed and that others are judging him as an inferior, he is angry as a result. This Nixon sees himself as the victim of others' judgments. His father, initially, the Eastern and elite political crowd, and in his view, the liberal media. Most importantly, in Stone's moral universe, Nixon enacts a self-pity which propels him to sour and crazed melodramatic end to his presidency. It can't really rise to the level of tragedy, for that would have to have a grander horizon. And Nixon is shown to be essentially paltry in emotion, in imagination, and totally lacking in moral and ethical sense. So the problem then is one of representing power in a dramatic, cinematic form. One of the enduring reasons that we're fascinated with political drama is the problem of presenting power. Where is power? What is power? How can we view this abstract concept? We might remember that, for example, in the medieval period, power was generally thought to be in the person of the ruler, the king. And thus we find chroniclers writing that a particular king moved from one place to another and brought peace and order to where he was a new place, and disorder erupted in the former location. So it was really in the body, and the embodiment of power was embodied in the person of the ruler. In changing times, and often in times of great tension, we can see, for example, in the Renaissance, a protracted dramatization of what power means in Shakespeare's history plays. Is it the person? Or what if we have a flawed person, or a person who is influenced by others, or who must still mature and change in order to rule effectively? These were real concerns of the public at the time, and Shakespeare and other Elizabethan dramatists were trying to explore these issues in a dramatic form. But from this time on, it's understood that power unbalanced can change, hurt, and destroy. It can become tyrannical. Thus, in dramatic terms, power comes to be most typically balanced against morality, which can be embodied in tradition or stability on the one hand, or which can be asserted as a counterweight to power out of control. But it is difficult to sort of see power precisely because it's an abstraction and we can only see its exercise, its expression in actions. And we also today have a different sense of power. We are concerned with power balanced against morality. In Oliver Stone's Nixon, the balance of Richard Nixon is his wife, Pat, who is the only one in the drama that can stand up to him in person, face to face. So I'm going to set up the clip here. Pay attention to, this is a scene where Nixon has lost the 1960 election, presidential election to Kennedy, and then to maintain his place as a viable politician, runs for governor of California 2 years later. And in this scene is the announcement that he's lost that. So pay attention to the use of shadow and dark space within the frame to create a mood and determine the way we look at the scene. Then pay attention to the importance of the face, the close-up in particular. This is one of the key elements in cinematic drama, a privileged way of seeing actors and characters. We get close and establish as audience members our own intimate relationship, be that fantasy or idealization or fear or desire. The close-up of the face amplifies our emotional intellectual bond with the character. This also gives us the importance of facial gestures in screen acting, as distinct from stage acting. The raised eyebrow, the tear welling up in an eye, the slight tremble on the lip. In this scene, set right after his defeat in the California gubernatorial election, Pat Nixon announces she will divorce Dick Nixon. He says he will end his political career to save the marriage and family. But of course, since these events have taken place in the past, we know as audience members that he will again run in 1968, that he won't keep his word to his wife, which is his fatal flaw in this melodrama, that he really can't be honest. Thus, Pat Nixon is represented here as the moral center of this drama, the one who holds to what is moral and ethical in the real lived world, and we can judge Richard Nixon by his inability to match that norm. Okay, do I need to do something up here? No, I think I'm okay. Oh, okay, I know what I have to do. Okay.
Thank you, Del Castro.
You're not going to blame this on Castro, are you?
I sure am. Goddamn missile crisis. You're not the old country guy intended to leave supporting Brown. People are scared, that's why.
I suppose Castro staged the whole thing just to beat you.
Buddy, before you join the jubilation by being beaten again, you should remember that people vote not out of love, but fear. They don't teach that at Sunday school or the Whittier Community Playhouse.
I should have not checked in with our people.
I'm glad they don't, Dick. I'm glad they don't because life is tough. And it is unfair, and sometimes you forget that in your self-pity.
Well, you want to listen to Governor Brown's victory speech?
No, not going to listen to any more speeches ever again.
Amen to that.
It's over, Dick.
I can see you in the morning.